Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video on Dusty Springfield. And through her song, You Don't Have to Say You Love Me, we talked about honesty and transparency in relationships, particularly when you're on a break and thinking about going back. Complicated stuff, that. So I trust you found that one an encouragement. We're going from there to a group that was formed in 1974 in New York, and it was very much at the start of collaboration between Chris Stein and Debbie Harry. Now, the minute I mention those two names, you know where I'm going. We're talking about Blondie. And there certainly have been some other band members that have been around for a while as well. Now, between 1976 and 2017, there has been some gaps in there though, but that's okay because we can't just do band things all the time. We've got to branch out and do other things as well. 11 studio albums, 4 live albums, 14 compilation albums, 7 video albums, 35 music videos, 3 EPs, 38 singles. It's estimated these guys have sold around 40 million albums, making them pretty successful in the scheme of things. And certainly around that late 1970s, early 1980s periods, there was just hit after hit after hit after hit of these guys coming through. Because these guys were so fresh and so new, very much pioneering the new wave movement in the early 1980s. And also, we just need to talk about Debbie Harry, of course, because it was because of her and her striking stage presence persona and her incredible vocals that this band became as popular as they did. And we have an incredibly tight band behind her, just making Blondie an all-round full-on experience. We can't. When we talk about Blondie, we've got to talk more than just Debbie Harry, because even though she very much carried the lead vocals, it was the whole bunch of guys that made Blondie who they were, with iconic bass lines and drum riffs and keyboard parts and the whole thing. These guys were the complete package, and we're able to do this stuff live, which is really, really important. You've got to be able to play your songs live, and Blondie well and truly could do that. And they were getting quite a following and became household names very, very quickly. They have opened for such acts as David Bowie, so there we go. That's a bit of a nod of their head to how well they were regarded by the industry. In 2006, pretty big year for them with awards. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so there we go right there. And interesting, the Rock Walk of Fame in Hollywood. That's not the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's the Rock I can't say it. Rock Walk of Fame. And so big year for Blondie in 2006. And so yeah, they certainly did create a mark in music and really ushered in a whole new range of things, because these guys not scared to go across many genres, punk and disco and a bit of rap, and we'll talk about rap in a minute, and some reggae and some rocks. They're very much across a lot of genres and a bit eclectic. And it's not like they don't just just dabble in these genres. When they do a song in a different genre, they really engage with that genre and really embrace that genre and really make it really, really good. If you think about songs like Call Me, that's full on rock. And then we've got the Titus High, which is almost like reggae. Then we've got songs like Rapture, which has got rap in it. So they really do embrace genres, but embrace them pretty fully, which is pretty cool. Now, I was wondering which song to go to with Blondie today to talk about. I thought, let's go with Heart of Glass, that came out in 1979 of the Parallel Lines album. Interesting, this song has received a Juno Award and actually has been inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. So this song is very significant in the scheme of music and very much catapulted. Now, we saw disco in here, but we also saw new wave happening in here at the same time. So a very significant song, this one. And the song is pretty much about someone just talking about a relationship that they had and they don't have anymore, and thinking, oh man, it really wasn't good. And I don't know really quite know how I'm going quite now. And I like this concept of heart of glass. Really, what it's implying is like, well, we talk about a broken heart. We talk about our actual physical beating heart. Well, that doesn't break in essence. We have heart attacks, that sort of stuff, and certainly if you know someone has had a heart attack, it's a pretty scary place to be in. But here we're talking about, when we're talking about a broken heart, we're talking about pretty much just the whole of us just kind of has been completely overwhelmed by a bit of a relationship breakup, and we call it a broken heart. Now, I haven't really talked about broken hearts before in this series, and so it's interesting to talk about this today. So yeah, my heart is broken. It's been shattered into a million pieces. So very much glass. Now, if you're going through a broken heart moment right now, my thoughts are really with you. If you're in this room with me, we could sit down and have a bit of a chat about it. And, I could certainly be here for you and all the rest of it. But I think, interestingly, because our hearts, now when I say heart here, I'm going to talk about this thing that gets broken. um, we've got to be really careful with love too. I mean, love is such a compelling force of nature, and we just go into it really without thinking at times. Now, of course, if the relationship is good and pretty amazing, and it's real, well, then you will give yourself to it because you can trust it. But certainly in those initial stages where you're getting to know people and working what the other person's like, you've got to just be a little bit careful that you don't just run in like a bull through a china shop. and then work out later why you've got a broken heart. I think it's really important that we do actually just be aware that love, first of all, is quite potent, but it's not the love that lets you down. It's actually the relationship that lets you down. Love is patient and kind and always hopes and all that sort of stuff, whereas relationships aren't quite like that. And sometimes you need to just be a little bit careful before you go in. Particularly if you just come out of a relationship and you're going into another one and think, oh, hang on, I just need to break the brakes on a little bit here. Because if the new person really is really, really great, well, I want to love them with all of my heart, not a heart that's broken in a million pieces. Because this is the nature of our emotions. They kind of go all over the place, and sometimes we can't trust them. But what we can trust is who we are at the moment. We know that we are human beings, and there's things that we believe in and things that we treat as important and all the rest of it, and where we have come from. All the experiences we have, we kind of don't disregard them, even though we may not like them. We take with us the good bits, and we learn from the bad bits. And because it's just all of who we are as our life experience. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to move on that and go on to the next chapter. Part of you will go with that from past experiences because it's who we are. We're not a new person every single day. I was a different person yesterday. I'm another person today because I'm making a new start, a new chapter. Don't get me wrong, new starts and new chapters are important because it's a signal in our brain that we're signaling a new stage of our life. But within that new stage, I suppose there will be things from the things that we've experienced and make us who we are. And if you've got friends around you, you can talk through about that stuff, but also just celebrate the fact you're still around and what makes you the unique human being you are, the wonderful human being you are. Well, that's going to keep you going. So I don't think it's and I've said this a few times before. It's not about getting over necessarily because you were part of that. It's about walking forward with, but walking forward with in a healthy way. Because as I've said before, whenever there's a loss, grief comes into play and interacts with your loss, and this, in a sense, creates a bit of a moment for which you can walk forward. but the loss will always be there. But how you walk forward with it is the important thing. And I've said before that loss will go forward with you lightly because grief has interacted with it. But I think the main takeaway from now is that when you think about relationships ending, this concept of break, my heart is broken, very much comes into play straight away. In fact, you may feel like it's been ripped out of your chest and trodden on the ground, thrown against the wall and tipped into a bucket of sand and, shaken up and then taken out and minced up. That's kind of how you're feeling right now. Yeah, this stuff does happen because relationships aren't perfect and human beings aren't perfect. But I think what we can do is if we've had that experience before, we can think, well, how can we do this a little bit better next time? Because you know what age we may be, you may never know. Love may not have finished with you yet, and there may be more for you going forward. So I think the warning of Heart of Glass today, I think we can look at it this way, is this, and that is, let's just be careful out there, guys, with relationships. You'll know when you're ready. Don't jump in too soon. Perhaps, if you like the person, just think about the friendship side of it first and then work out the romantic bit later. But just ease in there. That's all I'm saying. Because you actually deserve to have a life that's going to make you happy. And as we find with Heart of Glass, the songwriter here wasn't happy after this relationship. And it was a chance for them to reflect on what had actually happened. So if you're in this situation right now, whether either you've got a broken heart and just give yourself time and space. Go and talk to someone if you need to, and surround yourself with friends who can walk that journey with you. But just know that you'll probably walk forward with that, but just know that grief will come in and make it lighter, because it's who we are. We can't discount previous experiences, no matter how much we try. In fact, embracing those previous experiences is probably the easiest way of moving forward with them. Because just think about it now, you think you might have dealt with something and then all of a sudden some little thing comes along and it triggers you. You think, oh, I thought I'd finished with this thing, but there we go, there it is again. So I think the best thing we get to do is to realise that it is part of us, will always be part of us, but we can choose to walk forward with it, but lightly because of grief. Thank goodness for grief. That's all I can say. Or if you're kind of met a new guy after a bit of a heartbreaking moment, or a new gal, I should say, or just a new person, work on the friendship side first and see where it goes after that. Maybe stuff like holding hands, that sort of stuff's okay. But there's just put some brakes on a little bit to see how you're feeling with it. So I trust that will all be an encouragement for you today. Well, on to the clip. So we've got Heart of Glass, again off the 1979 album Parallel Lines. We've got a live version and the iconic official clip on this one. This was a massive song for Blondie, and as I've said, General Award and a Grammy Hall of Fame. We then got Call Me. Now, this actually didn't come off a Blondie album. This came off a Soundtrack American Gigolo. This song actually won a Grammy Award. And when I think of Blondie, this is one of my go-to songs, very much, whereas Heart of Glass is more very much pop. Call Me is very much rock. And there's a pretty incredible, iconic drum fill at the start of the song that makes this so good. When you look at these clips, just watch Debbie Harry, how captivating and compelling she is as a performer, how incredibly tight the band is, how incredibly fresh sounding the band is as well, and how very much they are quite unique in the world of music, and just how it's not just a Blondie concert, it's a Blondie experience. That's well and truly what made these guys get their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in 2006. Now, we also need to talk about the song Rapture that came out in 1981 off the Auto American album. Now, this is a very significant song, this one. Reason being that around the early 1980s, rap wasn't really a thing. It well and truly is now, but wasn't in the early 1980s. This song has got rap in it. Now, Debbie Harry is the one actually doing the rap here. And this is the first video on MTV to actually feature rap. So, very, very significant song. And this was a massive hit for Blondie as well. And really just told the world how, flexible and across multiple genres these guys actually are. So, a very significant song, this one. There are elements of new wave, disco, hip hop, and rap in here, so a very significant song for them indeed, and actually for the world. Rapture from 1981, Auto American. That's the official clip. Of course, we've got to put the official clip in because of its iconic status in the world. So the links to those three songs are in the description below. That's where you always find my links, by the way. We've got a couple of live versions and a couple of official clips there today. And I've also included my last video from Dusty Springfield, so if you want to recap on her, feel free. You will note that particularly in my series, I've got a series section to this channel. That's where I kind of follow a bit of a trek, bit of a routine of my artists in alphabetical order. And you'll always find the link to the last video in those ones. I've also got live reflection requests, and I've done a few of them in late as well. When I do those ones, I don't tend to put the last the video on those because often they kind of just sneak in there out of order. But you also got on other factory received the requests, and so you don't tend to see the last video there. But you'll always see the last video for the live reflections through music. So that's, I hope that kind of is clear. As clear as it can be. Well, that's it for today. For those of you who have come back, and I'm getting a really good little community of people now, which is great. Or if this is your first time to live reflections through music, please pass the word around, because you never know, this videos might encourage some other people. We do tend to reflect a bit more on songs because there's so much wealth of stuff to reflect on. So thank you for everybody for hanging around to the end. It's great to have this sort of engagement. Well, that's it for today. Next time we're going to rock around the clock and go back to pretty well the start of rock back in the 1950s with Bill Haley and the Comets. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.